everybody. We are ready to begin class for today. And so, if today is your first day, welcome to our summer series called Master Class. Really quickly, I want to talk about a couple of things. In the fall, we will have a new class. That should be about mid-August, that my husband Walter will be teaching because he has a lot of extra time on his hands. So he will be teaching the class and he will be addressing the question, is God good? Do we have a good God? If God exists, is he good? And so he will be addressing questions of suffering and pain in the world, and that will be in the fall, sometime mid-August. Next, I wanted to share that the previous master classes that we have had have been recorded, except for Walter's. We messed up that day. But most of the classes that we've had have been recorded, and they're now posted on White Station's YouTube channel. So if there's any class that you'd like to share, please send those people to White Station's YouTube channel for all of those recorded classes. Okay, as for today, we have, well, hold on a minute. If you've never been here, you don't know what this class is about, let me tell you. So, Master Classes is a series that's designed to highlight the various opportunities that you have to step into God's kingdom and do some work, which you might already be doing work, which is awesome, but maybe you're feeling called to do something different, or maybe you are curious about a work and you don't know how to engage, how to step in. That's what this series is meant to do. It's meant to inspire you and inform you. And so today, we are highlighting somebody who is behind the scenes all the time. And maybe you don't know exactly what she does, and maybe you are curious, how does she get all that done? Now, I don't know that she'll address those things specifically today, but we are going to highlight something beautiful today with Daphne, and Bob's going to be up here chatting with her. So Daphne has been at White Station since 1995, and she has been White Station's ministry coordinator since 2019. That's 5 years of service in this role. For some of us, Daphne was one of the first people we met when we came here. I can remember our early days here and her presence and her intentionality at that time. It's such a critical time when someone is visiting a church for the first time. Some might even say that the first impression will make it or break it. So today, to discuss this church being guest-sensitive, hospitable, and a soft place to land are Daphne Logan and White Station's lead minister, Bob Perry.
I'm holding this bouquet not as some weird moment. I want to promote First Fruits, and so we're going to dismiss a little bit early today because I want you to get some good time out on the sidewalk in between this building and the auditorium. There is freshly baked bread. There are cans and jars of fruits and vegetables. There is so much basil. You can make any basil recipe you want to. The king and queen, or so to speak, of the summer vegetables and fruits are tomatoes. I love in-season tomatoes. In-season tomatoes are not like the tomatoes the rest of the year you get in the grocery store. It's two different things. There's two different foods. So make your way there. All of the money that's made goes right back into ministry. This is phenomenal. So, pay the suggested price or pay more than the suggested price. It's well worth it. But I just thought these flowers were great. So be sure to visit First Fruits. And we're gonna let out around like 10, 20-ish. Not 10 o'clock. But the bread was selling quickly. And so if you want to run and get the bread right now, and then pass it around.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they're closed for class? Of course. Wise decision, Deborah. Thank you. This is so cool. First Fruits is unreal. Thank you to Deborah and others. Might be really cheap right now. Daphne, you do a lot, but today we're focusing on one aspect, which is something that I love. And when I think about my role, and it's something that we insist on for our team, and we push really hard, is new people. And that we want White Station to be a church for the newish, so we call them the newish. Everybody's at different levels of what it means to be new. And we believe that a church who is not sensitive to meeting, welcoming, and integrating new people should begin thinking about its end of life as a church. That sounds really serious, but it's the absolute truth. And we don't want to be that church. Further, not just for the kind of sustainability of White Station and church, we love new people because we like to see what God is doing in a person's life during a time of transition. So it's my conviction that God works in people's lives in really unique ways when people are transitioning. So it might be that they're moving to a new place. It might mean that their family situation has changed. It might mean that they're exploring a new church, or they have some hurt in their past or something like that. And we believe those are really right times to work with God. So working with people who are newish means everything in this church. And Daphne's role as ministry coordinator, but a few years ago we said, let's take out a few of your old responsibilities that were more related to pre-COVID White Station, when we just had a lot of different things going on. And let's really pivot some of these responsibilities towards guest relations. So let's talk about this. White Station's a multicultural church. We're many ages and cultures. We try to be growth-oriented. And you have this responsibility of how do we welcome new people? Big job.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So what happens when someone arrives at 1106 Columbia Road on a Sunday morning? Well, we have three worship services, but if they were to arrive in the auditorium, they will be welcomed by someone on the hospitality ministry team. And that team is led by Charlie and Beth Michael and several of you. And so once you get in the building, you're welcome, you say how do you do, my name is, and you ask their name. So we are always looking for people to be a part of that ministry. So if you find that is your gift, please talk to Charlie, Beth, or myself. But, once that person comes in, we may, it's like welcoming someone into your home. What do? You have someone coming in, it's like, tell me about yourself, share a little bit about you, tell them where communion is, and that we don't really pass the plate. But they can pick up refilled communion cups in the lobby, or just tell them what happens during that time in the service, during the second service. Also,
I want to say a few things when you said welcome to your home. We think that's really important. That this isn't like corporate orientation. We're not welcome in. This is the church I go to. I don't really know who makes the decisions here. I'm not sure who changed this. We're not sure what's going on. But let me see if I can figure this place out with you. Okay, that's not what we're doing. It's like welcome to our home. And here's the cool thing. When you welcome a person, you don't have to know everything about the institution. You don't. You just have to be curious enough to help them with the questions they have about the institution. Occasionally, I visited churches and people give me answers to questions I was not asking without actually inviting me to the things that I would care about. Now, in an auditorium, this is not going to be a problem, but for example, helping people find the bathrooms is very hospitable. here's the bathroom. Now, if you can't find the bathrooms in our auditorium, you haven't looked very hard. And we are renovating those soon. And in the meantime, if you don't want to show people our bathrooms, I'm okay with that too, because it doesn't help. But hospitality, like, what would you say if someone came to your house? How can I make you comfortable is really important.
Right, I agree. So if you've not met that person before, you're part of the hospitality team, and it's like, okay, what brought you here? That's a good thing to say. They could just be visiting for that Sunday from out of town, so they're not really looking for a church home, but how would we know unless we kind of ask? There's also a guest card. We need to talk about guests.
Let's talk about guests.
Okay.
We do not use a word here, and so we need to strike this from your vocabulary, but we do not call new people visitors. They're guests. When you have somebody over your house, you don't say, we have visitors, you say, we have guests. We're hosts, and we have guests. We hope they're not visiting. We hope they're staying, okay? And we hope they're not just passing through. So please don't call people visitors, just call them guests.
So I want to share, this is a guest card. It's on the communion table in the auditorium. And so if you were to see someone while you're in worship, you're looking across the room, it's like, I think I know that person. Get up, not get up then, but after worship, go over, introduce yourself, it's always a great thing just to kind of look around the room.
Now, if you don't want to be the creepy person who walks up and hands a person a card and says, will you fill this out? If you don't want to do that, also what you do is you learn everything about them that you can learn. And then after you end the conversation, you walk, you get a card, and you write down all the information. You give it to Daphne and you say, this person gave us none of this officially. So they don't need to be added to a database. This is not, we're not going to put their picture on the screen next Sunday, so this is unofficial, but I did learn this information. They gave it to me for myself, so we could reach out, and I could reach out to them and say, hey, are you comfortable sharing this with the church? So writing things down is really helpful.
Yeah. And so what happens with that card? Like Bob said, I get the card on Monday morning. And depending on what he said, it stays there, it's shared with Bob, he sends it out. But if that card was completed by a person who's been here several times and really want to know more about White Station Church, then yes, it's added into a database. And from that point, there's multiple people who is shared, that information is shared with our ministry team, the shepherds, and so we kind of communicate weekly for about 4 weeks, just to kind of stay in touch. And if that guest is receptive to all of that information, then we go the next step. And that might be whether it's White Station 101. What is that?
We'll get to that. Let's talk.
Not yet?
Not quite, because I want to ask, one temptation we have in church life is we don't want to make a person feel, all of you felt this, I don't want them to feel awkward that I came off a little too much, okay? So I want to talk about this, because sometimes you're like, oh, I talked to this person, and we felt like we overwhelmed them, or we swarmed them, and they had this huge line of strangers trying to get to talk to them. So I want to talk about a few of those things. Number one is, in the feedback we receive, that's rarely a problem. Churches rarely over-communicate with new people. Like, as an example of this, what I would say with this is like, if you sign up for the rewards program, like through Wendy's, just because you wanted to get a 4 for $5 or whatever, they will send you an email every day that week, and then they will ask you to download the app and all of this. Most churches, if you give them your contact information, you will receive one email or letter the first week that you visited, and maybe a text message. Okay, so if you look at what people are accustomed to, what they would feel is overbearing, most churches operate way below that threshold. So what I want to say is, like, in most circumstances, over 90% of the time, new people do not feel overwhelmed by the number of people who meet them. Particularly on the church side. There are occasions where in person, new people feel very awkward in interpersonal relationships on Sunday morning, and that is one reason we do not do a meet and greet, because we found that partners don't like it and new people don't like it, and that was enough. So, as I say that, getting some information for me, or for Daphne to text a person, we can be pretty gentle with that, but really, you'll see in our process, people are getting 1 or 2 hits a week. That's really a small number when you think about the fact that a new person came to this church. They showed up in person. So a few digital communications for in person is pretty good.
Okay, very good. So, again, for several weeks, 1 or 2 hits from different key people within the leadership or the ministry team.
Okay, so they're going to visit, you're going to send them
a welcome, thank you for coming Sunday morning email.
like a pretty official email,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're going to get a text from somebody on the staff.
Well, maybe not you, but maybe someone else on the staff, depending on who that guest was. If that guest came in with elementary age children, Bonnie would be the one to have reached out later in the week. If there are teens, then Jay or Avery would have. So that's how it goes in about that first week. Yeah.
We try to get at least 2 or 3 contact points with them, very informally, and we try not to be we try to make it personal, and not just like they're receiving a formal letter from the church.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, so once a person shows repeated interest, I'm going to use a word that might not sound great, but we're just going to say it. They kind of get added to a funnel, and that we're just going to use insider talk. What a funnel means is like there's a process that we want them to experience to see if White Station is a fit for them and give them a variety of experiences. So funnel's a hard word, but that's what we've got. You and I worked in admissions at the School of Theology together. We use the word funnel. So maybe anyway.
Yeah.
So let's talk about
back.
one time.
2007.
One time.
Long time ago.
There's 2 major experiences that we want you to hear about today that some of you have been through, and these are considered the 2 experiences that to become a partner, this is what all people go through. And those are
Everyday church dinner and Life Station 101 class.
Okay, so everyday church dinner is offered
On a Saturday night.
occasionally. We try to do, I would say, 4 to 6 per year. And this is where you learn and experience White Station, learn about and experience White Station outside of a Sunday morning experience. We do not take people to our auditorium. We do not talk about praise music versus hymns. We do not talk about Bible classes, because we think most people who show up to church, that's how they imagine church, but we don't think that's what White Station's kind of core objective is. So we want to show people all of the ministries that White Station's involved in Monday through Saturday, everyday church. So what do those dinners look like?
Okay, so we go to I invite maybe 4 to 6 new guests. And I invite, of course, Bob and Andrea. We have a few of our shepherds and some other key people join us. We meet in the fireplace room. We have dinner. We introduce ourselves. And then we go on a walking tour. Why do we go on a walking tour? Because we, again, it's an everyday church dinner. We are an everyday church, meaning we serve our community every single day that the office is open. We have a food pantry that is led by Karen Hubbard. And so they will start off in the food pantry. Karen tells them what she does, why we do it, and where this food is going. It comes over to our Community Life Center, where Gwen and I we take in for a little information, and those in need come to the Community Life Center for food, and we pass those food boxes out. We also go to the CLC and we talk to Anna Barber because she leads the Threads of Hope in the foster care ministry. And so again, we serve their community Monday through Friday. And that's just another one of those city-focused ministries that we serve. Amber Turner, she is the ministry leader of Room in the Inn. Room in the Inn, we provide a home-cooked meal, overnight stay, clean beds, showers for women and children from November through March every year. And so that's just another way that we provide service on a Saturday night during that time. Another ministry we visit on that walking tour is the sewing ministry. When Lingerfeld and many of her seamstresses who are partners here at church, they sew, wheelchair bags, walker bags, blankets for new moms, quilts. They make alterations. And so that's just another way that we serve in our city-focused ministries.
And so we use this just to help any person who's newish. The basic question I'm going to say is like, we're not really recruiting you to be a Sunday attender of White Station. That's not our model. We want to either unlock in you your kingdom passion for ministry in the city, or if you don't have one, we want you to see a place that you can join here. And so we're not a membership-driven church, we're a partnership church, and it takes partners to serve together. So the Everyday Church Dinners have been very, very successful at helping people just get a glimpse of what they can do. How many of you have attended one of these? I'm curious. I see a bunch of you. Yeah. So this is really, really important, and I think it sets a good tone. But we do think that ministry Monday through Saturday isn't the only thing that people need. They also need to have an orientation to White Station. And so we have a program called White Station 101, which is a quarterly opportunity that people can have a Sunday morning Bible class experience that orients them to the church.
White Station 101 is, it just provides the basic information, like Bob said. And we meet also on Sunday morning during this hour in the fireplace room. And it provides that information about our programming, why we do what we do, and in the time slots that we decide to do them. We talk about the different opportunities that we have to get together outside of the church building. We talk about meetups. We talk about hangouts, which we hadn't done in a while, but that's something that we did talk about. Also, launch groups that we just finished in May. That's just another opportunity that we share with that group in White Station 101.
It's really helpful, especially just with, you just unloaded like 10 vocabulary words that we use around here that people like to ask questions about. Like, do I call them elders or do I call them shepherds? And why do you use partners and not members? And, and so we encourage people in these, like there's a certain vocabulary that's helpful to have. Speaking of vocabulary, by the way, and I'll mention this, like it's really helpful for us as partners to use the right words for things when we talk to people for the sake of clarity, okay? Like, I know it's funny to us when we say like, oh, just go over to the children's worship room or whatever we decide to call it these days. Like, that's funny internally, that's confusing externally. Okay, I'm not trying to be preachy, but it's like, that's a funny joke with us, but like, externally, they just need to know which room they're going to. And so, like, let me give you an example. For our worship services, we call them first service, second service, third service. So we had people who came to the White Station 101, they went to the differences. We said, well, third service is offered in Spanish, it's in the chapel. First and second service are offered in the auditorium. And many of you from pre-COVID know that we had different titles for our services. You remember, we had one offered in the fellowship hall. What was it called? The contemporary service. And we had one in the auditorium that was called traditional service. But you all know that we don't call it that anymore. We call it first service and second service. There's a few stylistic differences between the two services, but most of what we do in them it's the same room, same preacher, same worship leader. There's a lot of overlap. And so first and second service helps people, but sometimes we go back to old patterns. I've heard people say things like, well, we have a contemporary service, a temporary fact, but we don't. Anyway, and so for clarity, for newish people, it's helpful that all of us use the same words. Further, for clarity, it's also helpful that we avoid acronyms if at all possible. CLC. New people go, now which one is that? Okay, and so we use acronyms all the time. And WSYG, okay, well that's White Station Youth Group, we get it, but for new people, it's important just to realize that they don't have the whole load of acronyms. So White Station 101 helps to clarify how we say things, what we do, what is the ministry team, who's the leadership team, what's the overlap, and things like this, because we throw a lot of new stuff at people that can be really disorienting. White Station uses the term ministry leaders in the place that a lot of churches use the word deacon. That's really confusing for newish people. So we just try to help clarify all of that, and they can understand our quirks and our imperfections. So once a person goes through White Station 101 and an everyday church dinner, what's next?
Well, because I've had so much communication with that person in, for months probably, I would then contact them to ask, well, where are you and your thinking? Would you like to talk to Bob about anything before we go to the word partner? Do you want to partner with us in our ministry? I just want to offer that to them and not just assume that they are considered a partner. And so that's what I do next. And so if so, then yes, we arrange a meeting with Bob if that's what they want. If they don't, and they say, yes, I'm ready to partner, I'm ready to dive in and get engaged and get connected. And then there's just a few, some information I need, just complete the profile in the database to make them a partner. Then I would add them to the directory and provide them with access to the church directory. Right?
Well, let's talk about that, because that's a point of clarity that I think would be helpful, is we don't have a directory where you can just go and sign yourself up and get access like it's Facebook, okay? And some of you might have wondered this for yourselves. You're like, I put some information on there. Who does get to see the church directory? Who gets to see it?
Partners.
And then also, we don't keep, it's not like if you were a partner in the 70s, you retain your online directory privileges. I think we go through those ones periodically.
We do.
And so we do try to maintain databases that represent who's here right now, just for your own sake. But one thing we encourage people to do is not just to use the directory a lot, but also, here's what you can do. I'm going to put an appeal. I'm going to beg you to do something today that would be so sensitive to new people. How many of you want to be sensitive to new people? Okay. There's something that you might not think about that's very sensitive to new people. Go on your directory profile and put up a picture that looks like what you currently look like. If your children are college graduates and you have a picture as your profile from Vacation Bible School 2006, please change it. We need you to look like the people they met in the lobby last week, because that's really, really good. We want them to, because we're gonna assign them to a meetup, and they're gonna say, where's that at? And they're gonna look you up. This is how we all behave. They're gonna look you up. We want them to see the version of you that looks like you. And so please keep that profile fresh, because it really helps us with new people. Also, they get added, they start reading In the Loop.
Yes, in the loop.
In the Loop comes out every Wednesday around midday, and I hope you read In the Loop. Right now, the readership, we can tell, we can't tell if you personally opened it, but it gives us a percentage of how many people opened it, and it's very high.
It is about 80%.
Yeah, so the 20% of you who aren't opening it, please get on it. But no, it's 80%. That's incredibly high for an email. Really high. That's like our main vehicle for information for partners.
How do you
Hey, Jesse.
access, yes, thank you. How do you access the direction for those who don't know?
This is a two-part question. I'm glad you asked. If you're doing it, there's two parts to this. And the first part we want to talk about is through the website. And then the second part is a different conversation through the app. So let's do the website first.
There is some information on the website, but I should have updated it before today. I haven't. I promised to do that this week. But under...
I think it's on the top right. Does it say directory?
I don't remember now.
If only people had devices with them that we could look this up. I don't remember. But yeah.
There's a mobile app too.
Oh, we'll do the app. Let's do... No, if you're at the cocws.org, does our website at the top right say directory? Okay, Lauren is looking this up. Okay. First you're like, I'm trying on Harding Academy Wi-Fi and I need a password. It's not there. This is great to think about. I thought it was there. There is a way to access it through the website that I wish I knew.
Well, in the loop, like Karen was just saying, at the very bottom, there is a link. There is a link.
There is.
Yeah.
Other Karen, have we have any luck finding it on the website? Karen Hughes, do you have any input on this while we're in the minutes?
How many other Karens are in the room? Yes.
We'll get to the app. Through the website, there should be, I wish I could visualize it, there should be somewhere that used to be top right, but under resources, Mark is showing me here. Oh, you want me to get into this for you? This,
It's like
that's too many. About Us, Resources, Directory. That's probably too many. That's where it is.
It is 3 clicks. I do concur.
Thank you. Okay. That is not the best way to do it, and we are hit our. That is not the best way to do it. What's the best way to get it, Daphne?
The mobile app.
The mobile app. But how do you get the mobile app?
How do you get the mobile app? Well, directions are on the website, but I can send anyone just like 3 steps into getting into the mobile app if you don't have it.
This week's In the Loop is going to have a feature story
Okay.
on how to get into the mobile app, okay? So, we want you to have the hippest, coolest way to get in, but to do it, we're going to rely on email to train you to do it. That's the best way we can do this. We're going to do it. We're also going to, let's use our text messaging service this week to link everyone. So expect an In the Loop, because this is very important. We want you on the app, because that's where the newest, most current stuff, okay? Yeah, Lauren.
So now that we're so open as partners to discuss anything about engagement and investor relations, is there a glossary of terms? This is not a joke.
Yeah.
Is there a glossary of terms specifically, not a joke, that we can all have that's private to us? Because we can sit here and talk about terms, but I'll be real with you and confess, even though it's not that type of church to confess like this. That I can say the youth group or the youth area. I don't say I don't know the name of it, but I will, as some of us are getting older, we forget names. And so we need a glossary of terms, and you guys in leadership might have that in some goal-oriented book that you did a few years ago. But we need that.
That's a great suggestion. If you go to our website under resources, there's a page called WS Words.
Really?
there is.
Oh, wow.
It's not as comprehensive as it could be, but yeah, if you go 9 clicks on the website. But then if you go right where James was talking about earlier, White Station words, yeah. And there's a blank page. There's supposed to be an image, and that looks great. Good work, team. Yeah, it's a work in progress. I was so close to having a wise response there, and we didn't. Yeah, it is. We don't have any words. I think so. Okay, the app, super important. So what can you do? Daphne, what can people do? Let's race them through this so they can go buy bread.
What else can they do? Let's see.
Okay, I'll start. Read in the Loop. I already told you that. Please read in the Loop. It's got really good stuff. And we have an editorial policy on this, and we curate it, and I read every issue before it goes out. Why do we do that? We want this to be stuff that's for you, about White Station's mission. This is not the classifieds page for the Churches of Christ in West Tennessee. Okay, and we've like curated that way. So I know people are like, hey, you know, can we add this in the Loop? There's other ways that we can spread information as a church. If you want information to go out to a certain group of people, talk to the ministry leader of that group, and we can make sure it gets there. But like a great example is like our men's ministry has the email of every single man at White Station. If we have stuff that's just about the men's class and then we want to blast it out, we can blast it out to that group. Daphne will provide you any list you need of contact information for any cohort at White Station. So everything doesn't have to go in the Loop. We want that to be specifically news people can use. So if there's a detail that only goes out to our worship team, we're not going to put it in the Loop. We already have every person on that team on an email. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's not the classified section for White Station. Okay. What else?
How can people get more involved in ministry?
Yeah, so we have ministry leaders who recruit for their own ministries. That's really important that if you're a ministry leader, please recruit. One of the things I love doing most is recruiting ministry leaders. And so if you have a giftedness for ministry that I've seen or that others on our team have seen, we're going to recruit you for that. If there's just something you really want to be involved in, Daphne's our ministry coordinator. She is not going to plug you into ministry, but if you go to her and say like, hey, this is something I've done in the past, this is something I'd like to be involved in, she can help coordinate that. The big message we want you to hear today is please be sensitive to guests. Please be sensitive to guests. And if you want to fully dive in headfirst to White Station's culture and fall in line with kind of what we want culturally as a church, this is one ask I would make of you. On Sunday mornings in the lobby, please talk to new people more than you talk to your friends. If they're really your friends, they'll talk to you Monday through Saturday. Okay, please. Nobody who's new is being overwhelmed, but there are people who are being ignored, and we can do a lot for the mission of this church. Talk to your friends Monday through Saturday. Please talk to new people Sundays. Steve.
And if you are shy and don't want to talk to those people, there are people that you can just point out and you will be glad to meet them. So everybody in this room has a heart, and there's a lot of teamwork. So if it really terrifies you to meet a stranger, I've never met a stranger except for 2 seconds, and then they're no longer a stranger to me. And there are other people like that that are absolutely willing to help with that.
Yeah. And when you do meet these people, share that information with me. My number is in the mobile app, in the directory, on the mobile app. Text me Sunday, I don't mind, or call me Monday, Tuesday, it doesn't matter, but we need to know who these people are in case I or Bob didn't get to meet them.
Thank you, Daphne. You're the best. Thanks for all your work. We appreciate it so much. You are, hey Larry.
So on my phone, White Station Words does have Parker, Shepherd, Launch Groups, Meetups, First Service. So there
destroying my dignity.
Y'all are killing it.
Thank you. Daphne, you do such a good job. You're the glue that holds us together, and we appreciate it so much. I'm going to say a short prayer and race to first fruits.
Oh, we're open at
Not open right now. I know so much about this. This is, I have been. I know. Okay, after saying, so I don't need to let you in early. Now we're pointing at the screen and you can see the words. We need to work on we're on dial-up from 1996. It was computer back here. God, thank you so much for this church. We all have been a new person at a church once. And some of us know how it feels, and some of us have forgotten what it feels like. And so we pray that we will be welcoming as a church to all guests. Help us believe that this church is our home, that these are guests. Whatever instruments and mechanisms and processes we have to have in place, those are important. But ultimately, we want to privilege relationships. God, we just want this to go in relationships. These are people that we want to go deeper with. And so give us the courage and the stamina to do that. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
One more thing. I send out a text message to the church on occasion. It would be easy and nice if you would take that message and just, add it to your contacts under White Station Church. And then you'll know, well, who is this? And why are they sending me this message? It's church related.